things that can help it go whichever way you need it. You're gonna go. Well, I feel like basically your brain will be depending on you to feed it along the way, but right? So say you were something's happening for the first time. First of all, it's seeing it for the first time, which comes to your brain as like more in a way that's more like it impacts your brain. It's a bigger impact basically because it's the first time you're seeing something, which probably stimulates the brain. If it's good, that's the best that it's gonna feel. Is the first time, and then it's gonna die down after that. Like each time you see it or learn it or whatever, because of the simple fact that our brains get bored. Because if we're not using them or exercising them, they're just sitting there, just like eager to learn and do different things. Because we're supposed to be, our pattern is supposed to go to a certain place at the end of this. That's the way that we're. It's like a maze, and it's supposed to be a certain pattern of which our brain develops and how we figure things out to where we will end up in the place that we need to be in the end. And I feel like that's the place we need to actually become like live for eternity in the way that we didn't ever know. That's how I think it was supposed to get there, like, because there were people just like taking the time to get to know how, and I think it has everything to do with us understanding one another and the way that we are, and showing compassion, having conviction, and being willing to admit stuff when we're wrong, and being willing to account for ourselves and correct things when we make mistakes. Basically, being vulnerable enough to allow yourself to allow yourself the possibility of getting hurt. Take that risk because of the fact that we need hurt in our lives in order for the good to feel good in the way that it should. If we didn't have any hurt or bad to offset the experience, we wouldn't really feel good in the way that we should, and in a way that makes it so good, you know? So if you aren't willing to ever hurt, then you might as well hang up your willingness to ever experience love in the way that you should, because you're not going to. If you cannot offset it with the opposite of what you want to be feeling, you don't know to feel it in the way that it should be felt, because you have nothing to compare it to. And a lot of times that's probably why narcissists and psychopaths are the way they are. It's not necessarily because they're just like robbed of whatever. It's because a lot of times they are just like, this is what it is, and we don't know how you're going to change, but this is what it is. You got this. And basically they are going to take that and do what they want with it. But like what was I saying? Sorry, I had a moment. I was trying to think at the same time. Oh yes, okay. For them, they're so used to getting spoiled that basically all their experiences are mostly good, and when they're not, they don't have the emotional attachment to that situation because they've already like done their wrong and checked out from the start or some shit like that. Like basically they don't have that kind of emotional attachment to that person or that situation for it to be anything, like for them to stay in it, like, or not, for them to not get bored and want to do something else. So basically, like, a person who's in that situation, like, they're treated, they have good all the time because they got people that cater to them, kiss their ass like left and right. And the person who's with that person, they suffer a lot because of that. But the person who's the psychopath or the narcissist, like, they get so used to having the good that it just dulls down in a way that is not fulfilling to them. And this is why a lot of narcissists and psychopaths lie to each other. Lie and aren't faithful, is because they don't create the emotional attachment to the situation that we do, and that to where they love and want to, like, more time that accumulates makes them more attached to the situation, they don't get that. So basically what happens to them is they usually get the one feeling that they get that's good out of connecting with another person is through sex. That's why a lot of times they're bigger, like they have a bigger need for sex and with multiple partners than they would otherwise. So to them, sex is never gonna stay like it is, like it just always stay the same, right? It's gonna die down in excitement and stuff like that because it's just not. I mean, familiarity. So basically, I think that's another way that our brain is telling us, like, no, this we've been doing this. Like, what's next? So maybe we might not be meant to be monogamous. I'm not sure about that. But basically, what I think for them is that they don't get the emotional connection. They don't get the love like we do or whatever, or maybe even at all. They don't have the attachment to our situation. They only have the sex that they feel. That's the one thing that they can connect with another person and get good out of, like get any good feelings out of. Otherwise, they usually don't feel these things in the ways that we do, which would be a huge reason of why they would cheat. So it also comes down to, like, usually when they get caught, they're really, really, really bad about, like, trying to maintain some image that's not actually real of themselves. Or sometimes it kind of is. It's just that because in a lot of ways, they might take care of a person that they're with in a way that shows that they do genuinely care about the person. But then they might have an affair, and for them, if they get caught, they don't want, what their thought process is, I don't want them going around telling everybody I cheated, because they're not going to see it as the actual reason that I did. And I did it because I can't help not being feeling these ways. So I'm like, it's not that it's like an excuse and that it's not something that you be trying to make it a crush out of. But at the same time, because you have a choice still, but at the same time, it's like, maybe they're thinking, I care about you. Basically, I've taken care of you in so many ways, and I've tried to do a lot for you. And so I don't want the reason that, for me, I don't want it being spread around that I've cheated on you. And because it's going to be assumed to be in the reasons that weren't actually the case. Like, it might not just be about the fact that they saw a hot girl and decided that they wanted to have sex with her, and because she was so hot. Like we want to think when that happens. It can have everything to do with, like, the understimulation, the lack of stimulation that they feel from interaction, like from how we're interacting with each other. You're interacting with each other, because, like I said, they don't, if sex is their only connection that feels good to them, that is automatically a thing that dies down in excitement. And it doesn't, I mean, it can pick back up at times, but for the most part, these things die down. So basically, if that happens, you don't have the other ones in the attachment there to give. They don't have the attachment there, or the other things that would give them any reason to, like, keep lingering around in this relationship, because that's not how they really feel. Like, so basically, it's more likely that they are susceptible to cheat. They're more susceptible to cheat because they don't have the attachment that would give them more conviction about doing it. They just have the need that they know they have, and they know how to fulfill it. And usually they don't care whatsoever about any kind of things that we would feel or have to say about, like, why they would be doing what they do or whatever. They have no desire, no intention of ever acknowledging these things. Trust me, you will fight right for years and years, and you will almost die doing it. So, while I do think that it's worth it to hang around for certain people that you care about and try to help and all that, but I can tell you this: don't hang around too long, because the thing is, you can't tell a person how to feel. You, not even if you know you're right. There are no words, no matter how strategic you are at putting them together, there are no words that will make them think what you think, or that what you want them to think. That's just not going to happen. If they do, it's just going to be that they're dressed alike or something. They're telling you they're thinking like you do. They're not going to be actually thinking it. You cannot make a person think in another way. You just can't. We have to come to our own thoughts. Now, a person can be around you and they can influence the way you think. But ultimately, like, you don't reach your own thoughts and what you believe is the right way because somebody gave it to you and told you to have it. You get to these thoughts because you made the connection somewhere along the lines that this is the way it was, and then went from there. So anyway, with the whole mind control crap, right? Let's see. Billie Eilish. Look at Billie Eilish's pictures online. Just scroll through them and then look up Tekashi 6ix9ine. Scroll through his and just scroll through for a minute. The demeanor, the clothes, the colors, like, it's so similar that I'm like, I'm like, what the hell? And there was one day that I said something about that out loud, right? And what I heard was like what sounded like a chain break. And then I heard somebody, like a female, like when she was upset, she made a comment or whatever. So it was like I did something when I said that or whatever, or like exposed it or something. I don't know. But here's the thing. Do you know what made me start seeing all those celebrities that were on TV that were like so similar to each other and probably mixed together? It was when I was sitting down one day, and I have no idea why I drew this, but basically I drew up a hand and a middle finger sticking up. Well, I drew a snake on the middle finger, and the fingernail was like the snake's head. And then I did like vines underneath, and then I took a couple of pictures of Ashley's sister. I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm really tired. I'm sitting here like, my bad. I've been up like trying to figure this crap out, and now I'm like tired. Anyway, so the hand, right? I drew vines on the hand, or like kind of swirls or whatever, and then I drew a pyramid that was upside down with a green eye underneath the pyramid, like instead of on the outside, right above it. So suddenly after that is when I started seeing everything with the TV, the like actors and stuff. And it's crazy because like